Hi, everybody. This is Rabbi Jill Zimmerman again. This is take 2, Facebook Live. See what happens when I don't have my sidekick, Josh, with me. So I was doing the Facebook Live, and I thought I had to turn on the airplane mode so I wouldn't get any phone calls and interrupt the video. But when I did airplane mode, it canceled the video. So here we are again. I'm going to start over. Today I'm going to do a conversation with you. I'm really excited because I haven't talked to you for a while. We have been in the process of moving. We moved from West Los Angeles to Laguna Woods. It's just an hour south, but it's been a huge journey on so many levels. And so because this is the period of time in Jewish life that is all about journey, I wanted to share a little bit about the process of, physical journey as well as internal journey, spiritual journey. So, we moved from West LA. We started, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I am just going to say that we were in a, 3 to 4 bedroom house because both Eli and I work at home, and we, thought that we needed that space. We had a big backyard, we were renting, and we knew that we needed to downsize. So I think this is one of the biggest moves that we've ever done. We really basically sold everything except for our bed and a couple nightstands. So everything was sold in the estate sale. And in addition, it required us to go through all of our stuff that we had been carting around, schlepping around for, since 2004 when I went to rabbinic school. And we've been basically taking that stuff that we hadn't gone through from garage to storage facility to garage, and we knew finally that we had to deal with it. So the last few months have been this journey through time of going through memories of all the stuff that we saved. And we did a huge amount of scanning, so we didn't throw wonderful memories away. But what the result of that is that we're now living in a 2-bedroom place in Laguna Woods, and just an hour south of LA. And I'm going to eventually end up writing a huge amount about this process because we really moved physically, but the internal process has been phenomenal. We moved toward a place that is filled with green spaces, with nature. And one of the things that is interesting to me about journey and about making changes is that, I didn't really realize until we got here to Laguna Woods and this area of open space and green parks everywhere, I did not realize the extent to which my soul was hungry and starving really for this kind of open space. And so I think it's an interesting statement about what we end up getting used to, and sometimes we only see that in retrospect. So we have done this physical journey, and it's perfect. Of course, we didn't totally plan it this way because our lease was up, so the timing wasn't exactly, it's never a good time. But in any case, it's interesting that we did this huge personal, hi everyone that joined, Gail and Mary. Oh boy, Mary, I'd love to see your newspaper that you call Journey. Yeah, it's a big topic. So what's interesting is that in terms of the Jewish calendar, we're in this period of time of journey right now. You know, April 11th was Passover, and that time of Passover, you know, we celebrated the Seder, our freedom from Egypt. And again, it's a physical journey, but really it's a journey of consciousness. It's a journey from going from a narrow place, which is what Egypt really means, Mitzrayim, and moving through all that it takes to make the decision to wake up and to move is big. And then when, you know, as the Israelites did, the move is into this expansive space, which, as you know, was the wilderness and filled with interesting things and also a huge amount of difficulties and complaining. The important thing about Passover, about that part of the journey, that beginning, is that we did not, and again, I am talking about this story as metaphor. So even if you're not Jewish, it still relates, I hope, okay? So we, when we become free from our enslavement, we don't become free just to be free, okay? It's not like we could go drink Mai Tais on Maui. We become free in order to, as it says in the Torah, in the Hebrew Bible, we become free so that we can worship God freely. So it's this consciousness change. So when we were in Egypt as a people, we were enslaved to the Egyptian gods, and we become free for the purpose of connecting with oneness, with goodness, with our higher selves, with law, with doing the right thing, with being on the path. However you want to say that, it's being free for a purpose. So we go from this narrow place of Egypt and we walk into the wilderness. And from the second night of Passover, we are actually we're walking somewhere. We're not wandering aimlessly. We may not know this at the time, but the plan is that we are going to wander and walk for 49 days until we arrive at Mount Sinai. And again, we're in the world of metaphor, so let me just explain that. The 49 days, which is 7 times 7, 7 weeks times 7 days, that 49 days of journey has a name in Jewish practice, which is called counting the Omer. Started agriculturally. However, for the Kabbalists, it became really about spiritually getting our spirits ready for standing at Sinai. Now, Sinai, 49 days after we leave Egypt, Sinai is this symbol of connection to God in a most significant way, because what we know about Sinai, I mean, many people know that at Mount Sinai, as a whole people, we received the 10 Commandments. But the rabbis say that much more was given and received at Mount Sinai. What was given and received by all the people, Kol Ha'am, everyone, was wisdom, Torah with a capital T, more than the 10 Commandments, more even than the mitzvot. And I like to think about it as kind of this deep reservoir of wisdom that all the people experienced at one time. It is, to me, the image that I think about in that event is like looking, when we went to the moon, I mean, not us personally, but we looked back and saw the Earth as one whole living planet. that we are one, that we are all connected. So there's many, many different ways the rabbis talked about Sinai, but that's the journey. That's the big journey from narrowness, Egypt, into the great expanse and landing 49 days later at Mount Sinai. There are many ways to count this 49 days, this journey. And of course, you know that at Sinai, the journey wasn't over, because really the ultimate journey was the promised land. But anyway, the 49 days, the way that the mystics would count it, was by a process of the tree of life, the sphirot, and the blending of different soul characteristics. And it was a very beautiful, layered way. And the idea was to be ready, to be spiritually ready, to be at the mountain and receive wisdom and connection. A couple years ago, my colleague, Rabbi Cindy Anger, and I created a new way of counting the Omer, and I think that many of you probably received our emails. But it was a process of spiritual journey that was different than the Kabbalistic journey in a way. And I just want to share briefly with you those steps. And I'm not going to go into detail in this Facebook Live. I don't even know who's on right now. So say hi or do a thumbs up if you're here so I can see you. And if you have any questions, I think I should see if there's any questions, because it's Ask the Rabbi. Okay, here we go. Let's see. I'm just looking to see any questions. Okay, so let me share with you the steps that, hi Barbie, thank you. Hi AJ from London. Oh my God, that's so cool. Wonderful. I invited my Twitter friends. So the 7 steps that Rabbi Cindy Anger and I created, these are the 7 steps. And in the Hineni group, mindfulness group that I lead, we go through this in more detail. Hi, Mark. The first step in any spiritual journey is waking up. And I'm talking about both a physical journey as well as an inner journey. Let me just make a segue here for 1 second, which is that some journeys we choose. Like the journey that we chose to move, or to go to rabbinic school, or to have a child. I mean, some journeys are conscious choices. But there are other journeys that choose us. Journeys like the breakup of a relationship, a death, a serious illness, conflict. And those still set us on a journey of transformation from where we are to where we are going. And so I want you to keep in mind that it isn't always journeys that we choose, but I think the same principles apply. So the first step of any journey is waking up, is realizing in a conscious journey that things are different, that we've got to move. I've got to do something different. Hi, Mimi. Hi, Kelly. I love the fact that all you are here. So the first step on the journey is waking up. And for the Israelites, what we learn in the very beginning of Exodus is before anything happened, before God even got involved in the text, is that the people cried out. They didn't even necessarily cry out to God, but they cried out in pain. It was, and always it is the first step in journey is waking up. So number 1 is waking up to your situation, etc. The second step is beginning to set out. So just being at the edge of making the decision, okay, I'm going to move. I know we need to move, or I want to move, and I'm going to set out. So that's step 2. That's phase 2. The third step in the journey is entering the wilderness. This step is about entering the realm of consciousness, hi Kelly, that is the unknown. That's why it's called the wilderness. It's being willing and able to say, I don't know. And in any journey, there is that stage of, I don't know. So that's the third stage, is entering the wilderness. And the next stage is more clearly consciousness of being in the unknown. And it is so important in any spiritual journey to be conscious of how comfortable or uncomfortable you are in the unknown. We live in a culture and a society in which we like to know, and it's uncomfortable to not know. However, some of the greatest advances and shifts in our transformational process is when we are able to sit in the place of, I don't know. Then new wisdom can come in, new learnings, new relationships, etc. So that's the next step of the spiritual journey. Then there is a point that we begin to find our way. So there's many different paths. There's, that famous poem, upon you come upon 2 different paths, and you're not exactly sure what to take. You take one path and it leads you one way. You take another path and it leads you another. And so there's a period of time in the journey where you're just trying to figure out what the way is. The next stage, the second to last stage, this is all cyclical. I love the hearts, thank you, is becoming the vision, which is at this stage of the journey is really having the conversation with yourself of what is it that I'm going for. Because sometimes at the beginning of the journey, you don't know. And so at this stage of the journey, a vision begins to crystallize that you can formulate more clear ways of moving through that. And the last stage of spiritual journey is about arriving and being at a place of being settled and connected. And that's what happens at Sinai. Sinai, after 49 days, we have arrived. We have this experience of total oneness. And it says in the Torah that everyone was there, even the people that weren't there at the time. So at the same time that, let me say that when we arrive, we then we start again, any single time. I mean, really, life is journey. And so you arrive, and then there'll be another time in which you have to wake up and realize that you need to move again. And again, this is not just about physical moving, although we really do go through this when we physically move, but it's really an internal process whenever we realize that we're in some narrow place, some Egypt, and we have to break through and move forward, not knowing exactly the way, only knowing that we've got to move. I see Melissa, my friend Melissa, Rabbi Melissa Simon joined. So great to be here connecting with you because it's been a long time since I did Facebook Live. I don't know if you've got questions because I've been doing a lot of talking. One last thing, which is that when we journey, there's this forward movement, even when we're in the unknown, in the wilderness. It's really important to be present wherever you are, wherever that stage is, being present in the unknown. And sometimes when we're journeying and we're moving, and I see the question by AJ, so I'm going to get to that in a second because it's a really good question. Sometimes when we're journeying, we forget to stay present. And I'm going to do a free call on June 15th. So I'm giving you notice. I'm going to do a free call on the present is the present. No, that's not the, yeah, that's the name of it. The present is the present. Okay, it's going to be about being present. It's after Shavuot, which is Shavuot. I didn't mention that. Shavuot is in May 31st. So if you want to find out about the June 15th free call, it'll be an hour call, I believe. Please let me know. Either come join my email list or write me in the comments that you put your email, or you can private message me, and I'll happily tell you about the information and the phone call, etc. The link to the free call. It might even be a free webinar. So, hi Elaine, my cousin Elaine. So nice to see you. Okay, so AJ has a great question, is how to recognize that oneness. And I think you're referring to what I was talking about, what happens at Sinai. You know, that oneness is also the same oneness of the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad is oneness. And I think that it's a really important spiritual practice to begin to notice and begin to recognize when you have that perception of oneness, that feeling of connection. And so I would ask you, AJ, and anyone else, is to think about a time in your life, whenever or wherever, when you felt that sense of connection. That's, you know, there's a, you know, the mystics talked about that the boundaries would be released. Some people feel that sense of oneness when they're in a conversation. I mean, I think that's what Martin Buber was talking about, is the spark in a relationship, the connection, the I-thou connection. Hi, Joanne. That is a one way of feeling oneness. Some people feel that sense of connection walking in the redwood forest, walking on the beach. Many people feel that sense of oneness and connection. Some people feel that going to religious services. You know, sometimes I feel that sense of oneness a lot when I am listening to music. You know, there's this moment, you know, when people are singing together where the harmonies all blend, and yet so you can hear the harmony of individual people, and yet what is created is so much bigger. So those are some examples of that feeling of oneness and connectedness. And I would just, I'm interested, AJ, if you can think about any times in your life where you felt that the boundaries slip away and that you are one with everything. And some people have that experience many, many times in their life. For some people, it is maybe one time or several times. Some people have talked about that feeling of connection with the birth of a child, in the birth process, or when they first saw their child being born. You know, the world slips away and there is this unity of connection. So Eli's asking the relationship between Passover, Omer, Shavuot, and Sinai. So I went through that in this video, and really simply put, I'll say it again, which is at Passover is the time, and again, I'm really talking about metaphor in the way that I describe it, I mean, not just myself, that Egypt, Mitzrayim, is a narrow place. It's a place where we were enslaved, but really it's any time we're in a narrow place, in a constricted place, a relationship, a job, anything in which we feel our soul is constrained. And so that the decision, the waking up to that and decision to leave Egypt, to leave that narrow place, we then cross over into the wilderness. We cross through the Sea of Reeds. And for anyone who leaves a narrow place, you know there is this decision to move and to go into this place of the unknown. And that period of time in Jewish practice is the period from Passover, the 49 days from Passover to Shavuot, where we stand at Mount Sinai and have this connection with God, this unity. And that period of 49 days in Judaism is called the Omer. And when we stand at Sinai, that is the culmination of that part of the journey, because really we become a people when we go through the birth canal of the Sea of Reeds and into the desert. And then when we stand at Sinai, we receive, the instruction, the learning, the guidelines on how to live a righteous life. So I want to stop, and since I don't have Josh here, who's 26 minutes, I wanted to do this video before Rachel Maddow, although we're taping it because that's always on our agenda. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments. I would love to hear from you. Remember that I'm going to do a free seminar, a free call on June 15th, and it's going to be about being present. And I really hope that you will join me, and I'd love to hear from you, and it was so good to be back. See you later. Bye.